Hi, everyone. We're pleased to have you join us for the Q&A of My Heart Can't Beat Unless We Tell It To, which celebrates its North American premiere at this year's inaugural NIGHTSTREAM Virtual Festival. My name is Ingrid Sternberg, and I'm the founder, director of Popcorn Frights Film Festival here in Miami, which is the largest genre film event in Southeast United States. And we're also one of the five festivals that is, in a kind of Voltron way, combined to be a part of NIGHTSTREAM. I'll be the moderator for the conversation with the cast and crew of My Heart Can't Beat Unless You Tell It To. And we're fortunate to have many of them here with us. So I'd like to take a moment to introduce them to you now. Virtually joining us is writer-director Jonathan Cuartas, his brother and cinematographer Michael Cuartas, as well as their father Rodrigo Cuartas, who served as the production designer. As you can see, making this film was a bit of a family affair. Also joining us is executive producer Kenny Riches, a notable filmmaker in his own right, actress Ingrid Sophie Schram, who many of you may have seen in Paul Thomas Anderson's Phantom Thread. And lastly, we have the great pleasure of having Patrick Fugit with us, who I hope many of you are familiar with from his work in Cameron Crowe's Almost Famous, Damien Chazelle's First Man, and David Fincher's Gone Girl, among many other acclaimed films. It's such a pleasure having all of you here with us, virtually, of course, and we're thrilled to share your film as part of NIGHTSTREAM.
Thank you for having us.
So let's dive in and have some fun. My first question is to you, Jonathan. We at Popcorn Frights are very familiar with your work as a short filmmaker, having world premiered your last film, but also as your well-known voice here in our local Miami community. But at what point did you decide you were ready to take this giant leap from making acclaimed award-winning short films to a feature film? When did you realize now is the time to embrace this huge challenge?
Well, I think I realized it years before I actually got the chance to work on a feature, but we actually met Kenny, and this is kind of he was kind of the whole catalyst of this thing. Me and my brother Mike had been writing the script, and it's a we made a proof of concept. That was my thesis film in film school. So we had the script and we had the short, and we showed it to Kenny, and we had worked on Kenny's feature that he did as a director, because he's also a director, and he just championed us all the way to where we're at now. And we were able to leap into feature filmmaking with his help and the help of his partner Matt Wiggum at Duelist. And we assembled this team, and we just we went into it the same way that we went into our shorts, except it was a longer time period, of course, but here we are.
And Patrick, as I mentioned in my intro, you have worked with some of the world's most renowned filmmakers, but what drew you to this script from an up-and-coming filmmaker who is making his feature debut?
Well, I had, met John and Mikey when we were making Kenny's film, and I liked them. They seemed like pretty cool dudes, and I got sent My Heart Can't Beat Unless You Tell It To by Kenny, who didn't tell me what it was about. He just sent me a link to a proof of concept, which was a bit different than the script. But what was in the short film that I watched was a really high level storytelling, and that was all based on observation of behavior. So the characters in the story were unfolding through just being able to watch these characters interact, and observed through a also very high level cinematic eye, which Mike provided. I was like, this is John and Mike. I don't take that the wrong way, guys, but I was like, this is John and Mikey from the movie we made, and he was like, yeah, and I was like, this is fucking great. This is really high level choices being made. And then I read the script, and it's like, we're answering questions for people who have seen the movie. So I got to the part where Dwight kills the first homeless guy, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And then he brings the body into Jesse, and Jesse's like holding a knife, and I'm like, "What the f are you doing?" And then they cut this guy's throat, and I was blown away. I was like, "This is not at all what I had expected." And that initial ride through the escalation of events was so fun and done so subtly. I could see, the way that it was going to look just from watching their short film. So I knew how Mike was going to, film those things, and I knew, that John was obviously capable of directing feature. So, also I take as many opportunities to work with people that I know and like, my friends. I like to do that as much as I can, and so it was really, it was a personal relationship with them, but it was really the high level of skill that they were displaying just in those short little examples of art that I'd seen.
Thank you. That
And,
means a lot.
and Ingrid, what was your entry to discovering this script? How did you get a hold of this script, and what kind of enticed you and excited you to be a part of this project?
Well, I originally met Kenny at the Sundance Film Festival in 2014. And then we have mutual friends as well, all within filmmaking. And then it was a couple years later, he emailed me. We had been in contact, and he sent me the screenplay, and I read it. And initially, I was actually quite, I was a bit afraid of the screenplay because it was so intense. And Jesse was such an extreme character that to find my way in, it took me another reading of the screenplay. And also it was interesting because some time had passed and there had been changes made too, which were so interesting to me to see some hope within the family. And I will say that upon reading it the second time, I found I could see the heart in them, and that's what really drew me in. But it was really last minute as well when I jumped into the project. I got a call when I was in New Orleans, and quickly changed my flight, and I was part of the gang in the end. But it was yeah, I don't regret it at all. I loved the experience.
And Kenny, you seem to be a focal point to the story of the development of this film. How did you first get to know Jonathan? How did he pitch to you the story? And what compelled you to want to get involved in such a hands-on way?
Yeah, I mean, seeing them around Miami and at different film events and seeing their shorts, I just kind of knew that they had something, they had that thing. And so I just wanted to keep pushing them. And, they had been touring with a short film for a while. And I was like, well, you can't just live on this short forever. You better make another one. And so then they did. Same thing, family affair. Rodrigo did the art direction and Mikey shot it. And so I was on set with them for that. And then pretty soon it was like, well, now what are you gonna do? You gotta do something else. You can't ride on this short forever. And so, they helped me on my feature, but they also had an idea for this script. And I said, great, let's start developing it. And so John gave me a first draft, and then, was really responsive to notes, and we just kind of built up the project from there. And they're just super driven and talented, and yeah, it was a easy project to develop.
And to the point that you just mentioned and piggybacking on it, it's not uncommon, but it's also not every day that you have a family working together on a set like this, making a feature film. I'd like to know from Rodrigo, what did you learn from your son in the process of helping you make this film? And what did you learn about your son that you didn't know before?
Well, how talented they actually are. When Jonathan approached me and said, hey, Dad, why don't you collaborate in this film? you always liked art and you were doing so many other different things. This is the opportunity for you. And then as I went in, I noticed how committed they were to the project, how Michael was so interested in lighting and the different cameras, and you know, Jonathan with the script going back and forth, choosing locations. I mean, seeing the whole process unfold was very interesting, and see how talented they really are, not because they're my boys, but because they truly love and have a passion for film.
And let's talk about the look and the vision for the film for a moment. Michael, what did you and Jonathan discuss during pre-production to help set this claustrophobic look and feel for the film? Did you use a lot of natural light? Was there a lot of discussion about artificial lights instead? And that helped you create this atmosphere and mood in the film.
Well, inspiration, I think, came from a lot of places. We are fans of genre, but we also like European kind of films. So we did look towards films like Ida, like the Polish film, just for its square aspect ratio, and the compositions were just beautiful. So that was a big inspiration. I think also Bergman and Ozu, and there's this photographer named Gregory Crutzen who takes photographs like just observing suburban life, and we thought those were really interesting too. And then just paintings as well. So the inspiration kind of came from a lot of places, but as far as lighting, the lighting wasn't natural per se. I mean, we did light a good amount. However, we do look for a sense of naturalism within that lighting. But yeah, what else, Johnny, did we
I mean, all the windows were boarded up, so there was like 10% natural light for the whole movie. And it felt so weird because we would shoot and you just didn't know what time of day it was. You would walk outside and feel like a vampire because the sun would just hit you, and you're used to just being stuck in this house, which was also pretty claustrophobic, and the light was very moody and intense. So, but yeah, I think having that square frame and confining it even more, shooting through a lot of doorways, shooting through a lot of foreground elements, so it would even condense our already small frame and make it even smaller to kind of pit these characters towards the edge.
And I think our visual, like the way we told the story visually, also kind of melded. There was like a great collaboration between us and the cast, I think, in terms of blocking. Most of the film is shot like without movement at all, like a lot of locked off shots. So that kind of gave us the opportunity to really collaborate with the actors in the sense of where they were going to be in the frame, and where they were in every frame was so important. I know Patrick brought a lot of his expertise, and like, especially for some of the stunt, like the fight scenes, the way that we blocked those out was just very fun to work together and just tell the story in a way where it's not just about the camera or the person behind the camera, but what's in front. I don't know, everything just.
Well, I think the fight in the kitchen, that I had a completely different idea of what that was going to be, and it was not nearly as cool as how it came out. And Patrick just came up to me on set and he's like, yeah, we're going to crash into this, and then he's going to pull me over here and we're going to reset and the camera's going to go in. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it.
Well, I would like, yeah, I got to parallel what Mike is saying. So the script, the story itself, the characters and the camera all have this really great meeting point in my experience. You know, the visual style is almost claustrophobic and it's locked off a lot of times. So usually when a film does that, it's to highlight some bit of information, you know, and so as an audience member, I'm used to seeking something when the camera locks off like that, or sometimes in those older films, and European films and stuff like that, when that happens, it creates an ominous tone, but it leaves me searching for something. And at least in my experience playing Dwight, there's a lot inside of Dwight that wants to come out. So there's like who Dwight has to be for the family, and then who Dwight feels like he is, and then who he actually is, right? And so it was great because as an actor, I was able to um, portray Dwight in a way where those things start to just almost accidentally or naturally come out of Dwight as just part of his soul's need for, to show these things about himself. And it's perfectly meeting in the middle Mike's camera work. So it's like I'm hoping that the audience is searching for this energy and these things to see. At the same time, Dwight is sort of almost passively reaching out for somebody to see who he is. So it made my job easier. The communication of what Dwight is going through is easier when somebody's really paying attention. When an audience member or the observer is really looking for it. Sometimes that's as an actor. Ingrid probably has some experience with this too, but sometimes as an actor, you're trying to just get your character on the camera, just trying to time it with, lens changes and all that. But with this one, it's really like that eye is just observing and you can let it just leak out of you. So simply, it was a joy.
Ingrid, you want to add something to that?
Yes, actually, just listening to Pat speak of being on set, it brought back this joy of having these amazing brothers to act with. They were so generous, and it was just this incredible collaboration with it felt so easy to become siblings, and that's not always the case. So I felt very lucky that we created this family within a family affair of making a film, which is always just such a miracle to finish an incredible project, and then within having a real family to work with, it was magic. I think we're all very, very lucky, but as an actor, I felt very lucky to have siblings to work with that were so amazing. Owen too. I wish he was with us too.
Yeah.
He was so exceptional too. If I can mention a scene that was, well, actually both brothers were in the bathroom with me, but that really was incredible to have that bond with everyone because it was such an amazing screenplay. I really fell in love with it.
Generally speaking, when we want to learn about a film, we talk to the director. But those that make films know how much they are really collaborations. Patrick, Ingrid, Kenny, what do you think makes a fruitful collaboration? And what do you do to enhance the collaborative process on set?
What I've found most useful in my experience is, it's great to be creative and it's great to bring ideas to the table. But if those ideas are desynced with we'll say the narrative thread or the energetic thread of the project, it can create this maze that everybody runs around in trying to figure out, who's, contributing what and where we're actually going to make a decision, and people are getting their feelings hurt and that sort of thing. So really a core structure is super important. So everybody synced up on the same direction. So there's a current of the film, and we all can get in and we can feel a back eddy. We can feel the current. We can feel when it's moving quicker, when it needs to move slower. And there's no real debate about it. And that was especially easy because of the screenplay. So that offers the sort of armature of the project. And then as you start adding the creative elements to it, everybody starts to really shape, how the thing is going to come out. And it's really easiest, like I said, if everybody is tracking where we're going. Like if everybody can feel that energy current, then really it's only value add. Like you can add things on the fly during takes, you can add things in rehearsal or days before, and it is usually congruent with what everybody feels is like, oh yeah, like that's self-evident. Like, yeah, of course we're going to do that, you know, because it's hilarious or it's sad or scary or whatever.
Yeah, I think for me as a filmmaker and a producer, I just want to enable, you know, John's vision. So I just want to be the producer that I want on my own films, I guess. So the best thing I can do is enable him in every way. So if he is looking for a certain location, okay, let's make sure it fits within, you know, what your vision is. If Pat's like, whoa, these boots are weird, let's get some new ones. Okay, we got to get Pat new boots. You know, it's just like, I just want to enable whatever the grand vision is. I just want to help that happen. And I feel like that was my main goal for this film, is just to give John like a smoother first feature experience. You know, I mean, Pat and I have been working together for a long time, and we've done like the most scrappy, like crazy stuff. And then, you know, we've been able to do bigger stuff. So it's kind of, that's my main goal, is just to give John like a good experience on his first film.
Yeah, I feel like this is, I don't know, I feel so lucky that I had such a, it seems like such an easy experience compared to the stories that I've heard from you and other first time or ex first time filmmakers. But I think an important thing to do is just listen, you know, because I'm a first time filmmaker. So if you have script notes, I'm going to take those notes. And I know what I want, but I need to listen to the collaborators. I need to listen to my dad and my brother and Patrick and Ingrid and all the actors. And even in post, I needed to listen to the editor and take things out that hurt, but I knew would benefit the story and the movie. Because at the end of the day, it's not about me and just what I want. It's about what we all did to make the end product. And the movie is what needs to be the best it can be. And I think that that relies on the opinions and tastes and talents of many people.
And Patrick, I would love to hear about the process by which you transformed for this role. And I say that because you usually play much more polished characters.
Well, I had, you know, I love Dwight. He's such a fuck up, and he's kind of awful, but I love him. So I had seen Dwight as the sort of meat golem of the group. Like he's the only sibling who's physically capable of going out and killing another human being. So he's big, you know, and he's probably strong, but he's not the type of guy who would you know, work to be that. He's probably just naturally from that kind of stock. And he has a very, very heavy world. Like he lives in a very heavy world. He has a lot of these pressing influences on him, murder, you know, really dark, evil things that he's doing for, you know, and justifying the means, you know, for the end, which is, you know, helping his brother survive. But it's not only that, it's also Jess's influence, because we learned something about Dwight. Once Jess is not that influence, Dwight would probably leave his brother behind, and which is also a despicable quality. Like Dwight's kind of despicable, and I love it. So I wanted him to physically look weighed down. I wanted him to look, you know, on the you know, the waning end of his 30s, and like he's probably got some back issues, and he's, you know, he's going to have knee and hip problems soon from killing people and lugging, you know, dead bodies around all the time and never stretching, or you know, he's always eating TV dinners, so he's a little fat, and like, he feels this oppression from Jess in a huge way. So spiritually, he's really weighed down, and I wanted him to physically sort of, show that. I wanted him to be like if you were at the McDonald's, order line, and you saw Dwight, the last thing you would think is that he might kill you later and feed you to his little brother. Like, he's pretty unassuming, pretty pathetic. And so that's where I wanted this sort of physicality to come through. That I wanted it to be in his neck and his shoulders and his gut and his.
I think we lost Patrick there for a minute.
Yeah.
While we're getting him back, hopefully, let me go into the next question. Your film was originally slated to receive its world premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival, where Michael actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, won a special jury mention for his cinematography work. But unfortunately, the premiere of the film was impacted because of COVID-19 pandemic. What is it like trying to release a film now during the coronavirus? What are the challenges that some of our fans listening don't realize all of you are facing as an independent producer, as an independent filmmaker, and independent artists and actors in putting this film out to the world right now? And what could the fans listening in right now, what can they do to support your efforts in the release of this film?
I think that just like everyone else, we're not alone in this situation. I think any filmmaker trying to release a movie or make a movie, put a movie together, is just going through it. So there's this shared empathy. And I've reached out to filmmakers and I've talked to all of these guys and, just trying to find the support. And I think from audiences, just hearing anything is good, even if it's a tweet or if it's a review on Letterboxd, that almost feels like a press, like from a big publication. I think any kind of word of mouth really helps, because then we know that people are watching the work that we did, because it really was a labor of love. And it's a shame that it was postponed, but I think that we're excited and we're hopeful that it'll get the audience that it deserves. And I just want everyone to see it, because I think it's an interesting film and it was made with a lot of love. But I don't know, what are your thoughts, Kenny?
I mean, it's a shame that the festival didn't happen, but these are insane circumstances. But like I said before, that you were accepted, and that's like a major thing that they can't take away from you. I mean, I think you already hit you reached the bar with the film, and I agree. It'll find its audience, especially being a genre film, and seeing those little reviews that are happening in those comments and Letterboxd and things like that. It's already starting to find its people, and that's all you can want from a film.
Yeah.
I have one final question, and I would very much like every one of you guys to give an answer if you can. We are all here presumably partially because we love cinema. How did your love for movies get sparked, and what can we, as a community, do to help others to discover a similar pleasure?
Who's first?
You're the director, you direct.
My parents would take us to the movies like 3 or 4 times a week. And me and Mike and my other little brother, we would just watch movies all the time. It's just a pastime for us. And I think just observing the work of other filmmakers and seeing how people can push the medium, I think inspired me. And I was I was always drawing, I was always writing, making little comics in elementary school. But for your second question, I think that keeping it local is good. You don't have to rush to go to one of the bigger hubs. You can stay in your city and find the support like you've given us and other festivals and local events, and just make sure if you're making the movie to go to those events and meet people, shake their hands and have conversations, because that's how the support, it's a cycle. I think you support someone else and they support you, and it feels more natural that way. Who else?
Yeah, I agree with Johnny. I mean, just get out there, collaborate, participate, put your time, do it with love, passion, and yeah, just be there. Be there for the people that are in this industry. It's really hard when you actually do the work and see all the effort that goes into it. It's incredibly hard, and having that experience of seeing what happens behind the scenes is an eye opener. Just collaborate, be part of the arts, and get out there. That's all I can say.
Anyone else want to jump in?
Yeah, yeah. I think they're kind of this. My answer would be like that they're the same thing. So, getting together with other creative people and doing it is everything. Like the only reason you would, level that up, really, if you are looking at it as a creative person, the only reason you would level up and work with a larger hub or move to a Los Angeles or New York type area to be a part of those bigger hubs is to have more opportunities to just work on cool stuff. Nowadays, everybody's shooting digitally, and everybody can find other people within the community to collaborate with, whether that's sharing writing, or whether it's actually getting together making short films, or just goofing around and watching films and then talking about what it is you liked about the films afterwards. It's really just all about getting together with other people, hopefully that are a higher level than you. I've been very fortunate. Like, Kenny makes fun of me, really condescending to me all the time when he talks to me. He can't help it. But it's a good thing because Kenny's a higher level artist than I am. And so I get exposed to a greater number of, or a greater depth of creative, opportunity and art to observe. And so my sort of, scope is expanded through being friends with him. I have to endure the condescension, but that's okay. Our great friend David Fetzer, who has passed away back in 2012, was my first best friend in the world, and he was a much higher level artist than I was all the time up until his passing, and he would still be a higher level artist even than Kenny, and that's kind of saying something. And so I met him very early on. We met in third grade. We were, 10 years old or whatever. And he exposed me to a lot of really amazing art, silent films. We were really into Buster Keaton and Chaplin. And then we got into Laurel and Hardy. And then we just became interested. Like, we didn't care who really watched it. We became obsessed with just making little films, like making stories. How do we communicate, through body language and through cinematic language, through editing? How do we communicate the story through those mechanics? And then once we met Kenny in high school, we started to collaborate a lot more. And there's dozens of just total nonsense that we would do in a basement somewhere that was amazing for us, because it was just reps of making the thing. So when it got time to be serious and we were actually putting stuff on Super 16 film for our friend Dave Fetzer's first short, we were practiced hands at that point. And, we were able to power assist each other much easier. And, everybody would like to be, well renowned for the work that they do and the art that they create. But really, the artists usually care mostly about the art, and that's the fulfilling part of it for me, is being able to contribute something that other people that I respect consider valuable. So if John and Mike and Ingrid and Kenny, everybody feels as though I've contributed something positive, like I've been a value add, those are people that I admire and respect. So if that's been accomplished, I feel very fulfilled.
Yeah, I don't want to take time away from Ingrid, so I'll just say, find your people. That's the most important thing. When I met Pat and David and we just started making stuff, that's kind of the biggest tip I can give is just find your people and make stuff. Sorry, Ingrid, go ahead.
I was going to say pretty much the same thing, is find your people, but to find like-minded people that you can collaborate with, and whether it's in nature and just for your friends, it could be a play no one sees virtually, but you're moving, you're telling stories, and there's just endless stories to tell. So whenever I collaborate with people, I have more inspiration for more work to hopefully do, and I think that's how it works with creativity. You just get inspired by everyone that you meet and every project you have the pleasure to involve yourself with, and I think it's just this perpetuation, and there's just so many possibilities. So it's fun.
Well, thank you everyone for finding the time, for joining us, for giving back to our film fans and our film community. It means the world to all of us. I want to just hope that everyone who's listening in, to tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your loved ones, tell your mom and your dad, watch the film. It'll be a discovery for them as well. Pass on the message. It'll be a passed on gift. Thank you all so much. I hope all of you take care, and I wish this film only tremendous success. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Igor.
Thank you.